Hi, welcome back to Cookery with Dr. Hussain. So today I'm going to make something to commemorate the day. We do have a bank holiday today, it's a Friday. Very unusual to have a bank holiday on a Friday, unless it's Easter time. And the reason we have that is because we're commemorating VE Day. It's been 75 years since they announced the end of World War II. It was a massive celebration. Unfortunately, we're in lockdown, so all the streets parties that were planned aren't going ahead. So I thought, why not make something to eat at home and celebrate? So I'm going to make some 1940s vegetable pasties.
Victory in Europe, or VE Day, signified the end of World War II fighting in Europe as the Germans surrendered on the 8th of May 1945. However, it didn't signify the end of the whole war, as fighting was still taking place in the Far East. This fighting came to the end 3 months later on VJ Day, the 15th of August 1945, which signified the official end of World War II. To make 4 1940s style vegetable pasties, which would have been known as turnovers back then, you will need 6 ounces of plain flour, 3 ounces of margarine, plus a little extra for the filling, 4 fluid ounces of water, large pinch of salt, 6 small potatoes, 2 medium carrots, 1 small onion, 2 to 3 handfuls of chopped parsley, and salt and pepper to taste. You need to preheat the oven to 220 degrees Celsius, and this recipe is vegetarian, vegan and dairy-free friendly.
Here's my potatoes. I have scrubbed them because we're not going to remove the skin. In the 1940s they would have eaten everything including the skin, partly because it's more nutrients. They didn't have a lot back then in the war, at the end of the war, and also there's a lot of value, nutritious value in the actual skin, so we've kept the skin, and they may have used fertiliser in those days, but they certainly wouldn't have used any pesticides, so they wouldn't have even thought about taking the skin off the potatoes. So we're going to keep the skin on, and all you need to do is roughly chop the potatoes into small pieces. So if you cut them in half, then into quarters, and then I'm going to put them into 8s, and then that into 2 pieces. So we've now got that sort of size is what you're looking for, so small size potatoes. So I'm going to do all my potatoes. Next you want to dice the carrots. I'm going to peel mine, I'm not a big fan of the skin of the carrots, but if you want to keep yours on, you're welcome to. Okay, so I've chopped my carrots, they're all ready to go, and I also have my potatoes all chopped ready to go, and the next job is to cook these so that they're soft before they go into the pasties, but not too soft because you don't want them to squish. You can boil them, but I prefer to steam, because when you boil you lose a lot of the nutrients of the vegetables in the water. When you steam they retain their nutrients. So I'm going to steam these for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then while that's happening I'm going to make the pastry now. So into this bowl I've added my 6 ounces of flour and my 3 ounces of margarine. So if you want to know what that is in metric, not empirical measurements, you can go and Google it and find out for yourself. I'm not going to tell you. And once you've put them in a bowl, you can add a large pinch of salt, which I've already added, and then you need to get your hands in, the best bit. Okay, so I've got the water in here. I don't know how much I'm going to need. I'm just going to add half of it and see how that works. It brings the dough together. I'm going to need more than that, so I'm going to keep going, adding more. I just want it to all come together but not get too sticky. And this is actually already coming together, so I might just wait a little bit and see. So I'm going to flour my surface, and I'm going to use this to make my pastry and my pasties. So I've just transferred it out of the bowl, just brought it together. It's feeling nice and soft. I'm going to make 4 pasties with this. The actual recipe, this would make 2 pasties. Back in wartime, 1940s, one of these pasties would probably be their evening meal, so they would have had a big one. Obviously nowadays we don't eat like that as much. One big thing, we tend to have it on a side, a pasty on the side with something else. We'll probably have it with some salad or something later. So I'm going to make 4 pasties. And so what I need to do is to have 4 circles, and then I need to roll each one out. Once I've rolled each one out, we can add the potato and carrot filling. You also need to peel and chop 1 onion, so really carefully. Get an adult's help if you're doing this as a child, because onions can be quite slippery. You want to slice it one way, and then once that's done, you want to turn it around, and then, because this is a small onion, I'm just going to chop it 3 times. So that's the sort of size piece you want, and then what you need to do is saute the onions to soften them in a pan. So I'm sauteing the onions in a pan just to soften them. I've added a little bit of margarine, and that's what they would have used back in those days. And I'm going to add a little bit of salt, just from my salt pot. Just to add a bit of flavour, and it'll help to soften the onions. And keep going until they're soft. So in this bowl I have my potatoes and my carrots, and I've just been cooked. You can see they're steaming slightly, and this is how they would have flavoured them back there. So I'm going to add to that a spoon of margarine. Okay, so effectively it's like adding your butter. They probably use margarine or dripping if they wish to make it a bit more luxurious. So that's going to add a bit of salt flavouring, a bit of taste. Also obviously a bit of salt and pepper. So here we go with the pepper. A bit of salt. I'm not sure they would have had Himalayan sea salt, but there we go. And next, I'm going to add my onion mixture, which is just here. So my softened onions are going in as well. There we go. It's up to you which herb you want to add. I'm going to add parsley to mine. And because it's the only herb that's going in there, and we in this family like a lot of flavour in our food, so I'm going to add quite a large amount of parsley, a good few handfuls, because it's the only herb that's going to be in these wartime pasties. Okay, now that all needs a good stir. It smells delicious. Okay, and that is the filling ready to go into our 1940s vegetable pasties. Okay, so this filling here should be the amount for 4 of these pasties. So you really need to be jam packing them full. Obviously, in those days, they wouldn't have eaten anything else with these, so they would have made sure they were as full as they could be, because this is where they're getting all their nutrients and energy for the day. So I'm going to pack as much in as I can without the pastries going to split. So that is probably as much as I can get in this one. A few more carrots maybe. I'll get just a few more carrots without potatoes. Put a few more in, that looks about right. Now hopefully now, fingers crossed, I'll be able to close this. So you just want to lift the flap over. Wow, that is full. Okay, if you've got too much in, you can always take a bit out. I've got a bit too much is spreading over there, so we don't want it splitting, so I'm just going to leave that bit out. And then what you want to do is to squeeze, turn the ends over like this, so that it's sealing.
Carefully place into the preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes until golden brown. Remove from the oven carefully and allow to cool before serving.